Brilliant. Thank you, Ruben. And it's really, really great to see you all today. I know that integrity may not sound like the sexiest topic of conversation, but if you can stick with me for just a minute, hopefully I'll show you why it's the really important thing for 2026. Now, we've had an ad tech nerd. I am a sci-fi geek. So in my spare time, I spend a lot of time reading books about kind of AI futures, and possibly so you don't have to. And I'm also the co-chair, as Ruben said, of the Conscious Advertising Network. Now, I want these AI-enabled futures to be a possibility, but I am extremely concerned right now that we are in fact not hurtling towards one of these fantastic utopias, but something a bit darker. And I say that because we are in the middle of an information crisis. So this survey from Reuters shows that 58% of people are struggling to identify the truth this year. And that number is falling year on year. Now, this survey points to two issues with this. It points to the restructure of our media ecosystem by social media, and it also points to the increasing use of AI as part of this problem. I hate to say it, but AI is making this worse. So for those of you that don't know what the no-click internet is, let me explain. Our use of generative AI tools, such as Claude and ChatGPT, and the increasing kind of appearance of these AI summaries on search engines are kind of changing the way that we're searching, essentially. So we used to go to our search engine, we used to click on the link that appealed to us most, and the content creator used to get paid as we scrolled that site from us seeing their advertising. Now, what's happening is we're missing the last bit. So we are stopping browsing the web in the same way and quite often relying on those AI summaries. And what that means is content creators are not getting paid. And this is in danger of killing independent news media quicker than before. So Kandar Media, who put out specialist publications, estimate that we could lose up to 30% of indie publishers by this time next year. And even the Daily Mail group are registering large declines in clicks, which they are blaming on these AI summaries. Things are getting so bad that the Rolling Stone owner is actually suing Google over these summaries. Now, for a lot of you sitting in this room, you might be thinking, well, this feels like a publisher problem. That's fine, but in fact, publishers will just adapt. They will change their formats, and they will, adapt to this new platform-led era. And yes, that is one way of looking at it. But I do think that misses the huge power dynamics at play here. And we are not necessarily helping this situation. So if we run the sums around how much of our advertising spend is potentially available for news media, and we also look at how much of our advertising spend is currently being spent on things like hate and lies online, those budgets look terrifyingly similar. And if that news budget is falling, it is going to seriously impact the quality of information out in those ecosystems. And it's for this reason that the World Economic Forum has had misinformation at the top of its risk register, or near the top of its risk register, for the last few years. And the power shift that I was talking about is this movement of all of our information from the open web, where, yes, it would be at the mercy of editors and fan bases, but increasingly through the platforms owned and maintained by Silicon Valley. Now, those platforms are not neutral. They are the products of the ideologies, of the policies, and of the behaviour of a select and elite group of people. And if we look at what this new information space could look like, it's concerning to me. So first off, discrimination becomes normal. The University of Pennsylvania are so concerned about this that they released a statement suggesting that we are entering a land of a new form of digital censorship where the rules are invisible and the referee is a machine. Misinformation just becomes standard as well. OpenAI have admitted that the hallucinations, the lies, that ChatGPT pumps out when you query it are not fixable. They are a product of the machine. So if we continue to rely on these summaries, the quality of information goes down further. Now, we all know the business model of the platforms. Much as they might tell us it's about connection, it is about keeping us scrolling and watching to be served advertisements. And that is really problematic during times of crisis. So we looked at two big events from the last couple of years, one of which was the Valencia floods, where unfortunately 200 people lost their lives. The other one was the Southport riots, which I think we're very familiar with. And we looked at that interplay between monetized content and recommendation algorithms. And what we found was there were no brakes put on during these times of crisis. And so what you had was misinformation about very serious events whipping through these platforms much quicker than the truth. And of course, that slows down vital police work. It slows down vital recovery efforts, and it sows the seeds for civil unrest. And our kids don't come out of this being particularly protected either. We released a report a couple of weeks ago with the Molly Rose Foundation, which found, even 8 years after Molly Russell's death, that 1 in 10 pieces of suicide and self-harm content on TikTok and Meta was still monetized. And this is from NGOs, this is from brands that want to reach young women. And that's before we get into the concerns that we have at the moment around some of these chatbots' roles, potential roles in harm to young people. So actually, Ali's done a great job on this, but don't get me started on this one. So there are a few of you out here who are going, this is very bad, but it still sounds like not an advertising problem. Well, unfortunately, this is also leading to some quite bad business outcomes. It is much more difficult to do good business in markets that are divided, polarized, where there are incidences of civil unrest. Civil unrest suppresses GDP, as well as making people miserable. Whenever there is significant misinformation around a serious event, it increases the cost of disaster recovery by up to 15%. Now, if we're having 140 extreme weather events every single year, and those are increasing due to climate change, and the cost of responding to these is going up, I mean, this is not great. And unfortunately, our advertising is fueling this phenomena. We can also talk about the potential overinvestment in some of these platforms. Now, Essence Mediacom and Ebiquity's report, Profitability 2, found that actually the tactic of overinvestment in new digital products was not an effective one. And potentially we are overspending by 3 times on paid social. And then there are questions about whether effectiveness and these metrics are being reported properly at all. So, things are pretty bad, to the point where the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, has stood up and said, solving information integrity presents one of the most urgent challenges of our time. And if we want to go hype on the other way, Carol Cadwallader has suggested that the first AI apocalypse is information collapse. So perhaps I have, couched positive hype with too much negative hype here. But you can see that there is an issue, but don't worry. Like, I am a marketer, I am an optimist, and I am a pragmatist, and I genuinely think that if we act right now, this doesn't have to be the future that we are leaning into. So here is the 3-point plan for integrity that I'd like you to take away. So the first of which is, we need to manage the quality of our information systems, information integrity, and tech integration as board-level risks. Number 2, we need to reframe what we think of our media spend as actually an investment in quality information, in a healthy information ecosystem. And number 3, we really need to support the regulation of platforms and AI. So number one, the United Nations don't just call things out, they tend to get things done. So they have put together something called the Global Principles on Information Integrity, which is their vision for how we actually rewire this information ecosystem to work for business and for human rights. And we have actually, the Conscious Advertising Network, if you go to our website, we have translated that document into practical guidance for advertisers. One of the big things we really think is that's part of this is this idea of conscious questions. Like, we need to be embedding checks and balances around this in everything, including procurement. So in the context of this talk, we're talking about asking things like, are we prepared for the monetization of generative AI? What is our plan for making sure that our ads aren't supporting more and more and more harmful content? Number one. Number two, we need to reframe the way we think about how we spend our media spend. This is a case study from a large global brand, and they decided that they wanted to kind of get back to basics on their where they were appearing and what they were doing. So they sat down and manually went through their ad placement data, worked out where their ads were appearing, and reduced the number of websites down to those that they felt were quality. And then they rethought, and they thought about how they might invest again, how they might support quality content, how they might reach more diverse communities to ensure they were advertising to more people. And the results are really startling. So they increased their sales, they reduced their carbon, and their return on advertising spend is really through the roof. So this isn't just a kind of theoretical issue. This can drive real business results. And the last one is about supporting regulation of platforms and AI. Now, there is a huge global movement at the moment around information integrity and around the regulation of these of platforms and AI. Everyone from the Brazilian government right through to Singapore, right through to Japan, right through to the European Union is taking this seriously. But they need to hear from you. They need to know that that regulation can be done in a business-friendly manner, and they need to know that you want this. Because these are problems that we cannot fix all on our own. So, this is my 3-point plan. If you would like to get involved, if you agree with any of this, even if you want to have a chat about some of this at the break, please do come chat to me. Because we are convening businesses who want to get involved in these conversations and want to support this work. And as Ruben said, we are not for profit. We are free to engage with, free to use. So I hope you now know why integrity is the thing that you should be valuing in 2026. Thank you.